What's up, everybody? We are back at Around the Mat Pod. I am your host, PJ North, and it's a beautiful time to be a wrestling fan, as always, especially right now. Welcome back to the pod, man. Last week we had Tank on, talked a lot of things wrestling. I love it. I'm a big fan of everything going on right now. A lot of stuff happening, and wanted to get together and shout out, talk a little bit of wrestling right now. But before we do that, if you're watching live on stream, on Twitch, thank you for checking in with us, man. We appreciate you. Hit that follow button on the PJ North Twitch page. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. You know what to do. It's super easy. Helps us out. But comment, man. Let us know what you're thinking about the pod. Let us know your questions, your comments, your feedback. Obviously, you don't have to agree with us. That's the fun part about arguing about wrestling, is it is a fictitious sport that we get to argue about. So do that. If you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, don't forget to leave us a 5-star or 1-star review. Share with your friends. Share it on Instagram. Tag us. And don't forget to follow us everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, at AroundTheMatPod. Super easy to find us, man. I appreciate all my friends that listen, all the family that listens, people checking us out. If you're a wrestling fan, we want to know, man. Join us. I would love to have you on to talk a little wrestling as we go around the mat. And with that being said, it is episode 31, and I'll do it just like Reggie did in Indy, by himself. Solo this week. So we're just going to talk some things wrestling, some feedback about how I'm feeling about the pod, about wrestling in general, all that good stuff, man. A lot of things happening. Obviously, last week we talked a lot about the world of wrestling and where it stands right now, and me and Tank got into it and talked a lot of things about what we love and what we hate, about WWE, about AEW, all those things going on, and I'm going to further it. This week, going through the headlines, we're going to start with SmackDown, obviously, was electric. The first one on USA, back on USA, and Cody Rhodes delivering as Cody Rhodes does. And I said this, and I'll say it again. Whose music did they play last? Cody's music, because Cody is the star of WWE right now. He is the undisputed WWE champion, and that's really, to me, man, as a fan, it's incredible. Obviously, I'm a big Cody fan. I've admitted that. His feuds so far haven't been electric outside of the Roman stuff, but it doesn't matter. He's the guy delivering every week. He does it incredibly well on the microphone and all those things. As Roman came out, I thought that was really cool. I'm interested to see how that tag team goes. I really didn't think it was going to happen. I was like, yeah, he's not going to do it. Roman can find somebody else to shell up his help for, and that's cool. But it'll be interesting. Bad blood, man. Solo and Fatu versus Cody and Roman. So SmackDown was cool. Otherwise, SmackDown is tough, right? There's just not a lot of other cool things going on, in my opinion. The tag team division, I don't know what they're doing. RKO and KO doing the Ricky thing and all that stuff. It's funny because we talked about jobbers the night before last week. Who's your favorite jobber? And then they sent a jobber out there, and cool, whatever, man. But like, what are we doing with that feud? I just don't see where that goes. But also today was announced, and you never know if it's real or not. I don't trust journalists, quote unquote, or these dirt sheet writers, but for the sake of conversation, they say they're going to add a third hour to Raw or to SmackDown when it moves, after Raw moves off. And man, brutal. How are they going to fill a third hour on SmackDown? I do not know. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, that's huge news. WWE delivers. We'll see if the 3 hours goes on as planned, if that's a real thing or not. But who knows? Who knows? Moving on to Raw. Obviously, Raw was... I have complained about CM Punk being a babyface because I just think it's absolutely... It almost seems disingenuous when he's out there thanking the fans, doing his victory lap and all that. I just don't buy it. And I don't like it either. I think his promos have been lackluster during that. I think Drew's honestly been elevated and won the promo battle when it comes to them. So I'm interested to see. But Raw, outside of that, it is continuously moving, man. I still love the Rhea Liv Dom storyline. I think that's building. I love that Jey Uso got involved. A lot of good stuff. I thought the Bronson Braun thing was not good. but I also don't like either one. I like Bronson to a certain extent, and Braun's, I'm sure, a great guy, but as far as wrestling goes, I just don't care. So I'm interested to see what happens there. I also don't love beating Finn Balor and JD. They're tag team champs. What's the point? Like, why are we even having tag champs anymore if you're not going to utilize them? I just don't get it. You have a whole division. I don't really get it right now. So Raw, still, obviously, man, I'm a huge wrestling fan, so I'm going to watch it. There's things, obviously, I don't like. American Made, I loved their promo coming back, but still the most god-awful name of all time. I've got a list. I'll send them to you, Chad. If you happen to see this ever, I'll send you a list of names that are better than American Made for your guys' gimmick right now. So we'll see what happens. All things considered, Raw was good. Moving along, NXT, though. Let's talk about NXT. The stars showed out for NXT. CM Punk showed up. Tyrese Halliburton was there for some odd reason. All Ego maybe did his best thing he's ever done, doing the Booker T impersonation. It was incredibly condescending and rude, but it was very good. Trick Williams struggling on the mic sometimes, but I still love Trick. I think he's so good. I really think he can deliver, and I think he's going to continue to get better, so I'm interested to see how that goes. I'll tell you one thing that did bother me, though, is the Brooks Jensen thing, man. Like, that match sucked. It was terrible. And I don't know, man. I really thought that gimmick was going to be kind of cool, but it seems like it's lost a little bit, too, and maybe they're not. And I don't watch every NXT episode all the way through, right? I'm fast-forwarding and doing all these things, so maybe it's a little bit of that. I will say, Tavion Heights being back, man, I am a huge, huge Tavion Heights fan. Obviously, I didn't really know who he was much from the No Quarter Catch crew until the Japan run, and I just thought that was awesome. I think everything he documented in the way that he built himself up over there for 21 days or however long he was over there was incredible. Just really awesome showcase. I got to see a lot of cool content, and I thought that was a really good way for me to get to know a wrestler I didn't know, which is really cool. So I really enjoyed Tavion Heights. I'm excited about them. I love the No Quarter Catch crew, Ren, and Charlie and all those guys. Miles is like, doesn't seem to fit because he has the gears. He's like very Randy Orton-esque or Hammerstone, or he kind of looks like in that ballpark, but still really cool, man. I love NXT, and I thought it was really good. CM Punk stuff was cool. Being involved in the Roxanne and Julia. Obviously, if you don't know who Julia is, I suggest look her up. She's incredible. I think she's going to be a megastar in WWE as long as they continue to do the right things to help her. So good luck with that. But NXT was really, really fire. And then we moved on to Dynamite. Dynamite was good, had its good spots. However, sometimes, and I have complained in this sense of like, I love the random matches. I think that's great. However, if they do try storytelling, sometimes their stories don't make sense. And sometimes the promos that they cut don't make any sense. And so for that, I'm a little lost. I love Private Party. Again, I'm a huge tag team wrestling fan. So I loved Private Party, but their promo was very fiery and he was excited. The problem is it didn't make any sense. You want to challenge us to... you want to throw out a challenge? It's like, what are you talking? What? The challenge, it's an open challenge. You're accepting. They're not challenging you specifically. You're accepting an open challenge. So I thought that there's just like things that can be worked on that are like little nuanced stuff. And I compare this to how, look, as a singer-songwriter, I made music before I moved to Nashville. And my music when I first started wasn't as good. And the music I made at the end, maybe, whatever. But point being is that from a progression standpoint and a production standpoint, there are nuanced things that continue to grow that I think AEW misses on with like the little pieces that are very specific to pro wrestling that need to be ironed out. It's like, I want to suspend disbelief, but I can't suspend disbelief when there's a lack of like continuity or like this, like I'm supposed to just assume that I don't know. Either way, I'm really not nitpicking. I see this a lot in AEW that I really love. My favorite part of AEW though, man, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. I love Jeff when he just goes on a tangent on his podcast. I think Jeff Jarrett's got the best wrestling podcast. I think it's surpassed Bruce Pritchard's, and I thought Bruce's was the best forever. And then Jeff Jarrett in the ring is a babyface. Can you imagine that? And then someone mentioned this in our group chat. Is I can't believe that Jeff Jarrett's a babyface in 2024, and I can't either, and I love it. Man, I'm a huge Jeff Jarrett fan. I think he's just so good, and I think the podcast has done all that for him because had he disappeared and not showed back up into wrestling, I would have never thought anything of it, right? He would have just been in the backstage, or he would have been doing what he's doing, but his resurgence as a superstar has been really awesome to see, and I love that. I thought that segment with Hanger was really good too, so... a lot of cool stuff happening on AEW right now. The other thing I don't love is the collision. Like, they're just random tagging everybody and, like, trying to get matches across and, like, that. I think you guys could do a lot more with the storytelling / like, furthering stories in general than they're doing right now. But, again, that's BB just being like, I don't know if I really care about a 10-man tag. I actually hate trios, and 10-man's even worse if it's not Survivor Series. So, I don't know. AEW Dynamite, though, obviously AEW continues to deliver, same way WWE does right now. And maybe they'll get a media deal. Word on the street is they might go to Fox with some of it. There's so many things happening, and I'm very excited because professional wrestling is at its peak right now that it's ever been. Everybody can say the Attitude Era was better, this, that, and it does not matter what you say. It is statistically better right now than it's ever been. Regardless of 11 million people watched Monday Night Raw. Yeah, well, I promise you 11 million people are interacting with pro wrestling right now daily. I just see it. It's everywhere. It's on Twitter. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram. It's everywhere. They might not be watching the episode, but everybody's talking about it. And I think just statistically from what you see with gates and money and all that stuff, like it's just statistically doing better. It is at its peak right now. And I love that for them, man. I love that. I love professional wrestling being on the up and up. Next, this is a big one. Obviously, we love nostalgia. Injected in my veins, I love nostalgia. Saturday night's main event is maybe one of my favorite things about early WWE that I got to see way later on in life, obviously. I didn't get to watch a lot when I was a kid because it was kind of going off as I was getting into wrestling. But, man, I love going back and watching old Saturday night's main events. I think it's incredible the way that they would do it, the music, the vibe, everything, the matches that they had. It was awesome. I thought the reboot of it later on, I wasn't watching as actively WWE then, so I can't really say much about it, but I am very excited the way they did that. I did read a tweet from Brian Gewirtz who was like, during my time at WWE, all I wanted to do was get them to use Obsession. And then he had like a second quote. I don't even remember what that one was, but the first quote was the most important. And then they used Obsession for the promo video. So I'm excited, man. I think it's going to be really, really cool. There's obviously no PLE in December. So to see a WWE event that's going to be simulcast on Peacock and on NBC on the Saturday night, it's going to be awesome. I'm excited. Got friends going. That'll be really, really cool. So there's a lot of things happening, obviously, in WWE right now. They're just rolling. They're just continued stroke and hitting on all cylinders. So we'll see what happens. Bad Blood, obviously, coming up soon, which we're all excited about. And we'll get into that next week or the week after for Pick'em. So who's to say? All right. One of the bigger notes, obviously, Vince McMahon documentary coming out very soon on Netflix. I think it's next week. Everybody's excited. I can't wait to see the feedback and all the comments and all the things about, that first episode. Everybody's going to have a thing about it, right? I don't know. But I do know this, is that Netflix has a ton of wrestling content. They bought Heels. Heels is now available on Netflix. They've got the Dump Masamoto documentary, or not a documentary, movie that they've made about Dump Masamoto in Japan and Joshi wrestling in the 80s. And I can't wait to watch it. I think that Netflix getting into more wrestling content is what is cool about wrestling right now. They have so much and so many stories about wrestling in the 80s and 90s that people don't know about, or there's just a lot of cool shit out there for wrestling fans to be excited about. And I'm excited about that, man. Obviously, the Vince documentary is going to be interesting. I don't know if we're going to find out a lot of new stuff, but I think it'll be really interesting. And I'm excited about Dump Masamoto's movie. That's going to be a cool thing. There's going to be a lot of Japanese Joshi wrestling in there about that, and that's a cool story. Obviously, we had the WoW wrestling there, the Women of Wrestling Glow, which was an incredible movie, a series on Netflix. I think Netflix being involved is awesome with wrestling, and I think I'm excited to see what they do with Raw and how they're involved. I don't know how they're going to feel about live. I haven't watched any of their live stuff yet, but I think it's going to be great. I'm really excited about that. So wrestling is at its peak right now, and it's going to be awesome, man. A lot of cool things happening right now in that. Other news, other feedback. It's a slower week because we don't have any PLEs. We're off on AEW that has Grand Slam next week, which I'm super excited about. Grand Slam. My number one thing that I do hope happens, I hope Daniel Bryan and Nigel McGuinness wrestle. If you haven't seen right now, Ring of Honor Wrestling on YouTube has the entire story arc career of Nigel McGuinness matches on Ring of Honor YouTube for free. It's like 11 hours long. I started it today during cardio. It is incredible. I loved Nigel McGuinness back then. I had his 2-disc ROH DVD set, Jawbreaker Lariat, Divorce Court, the Tower of London. He's incredible, and I don't think enough people saw him to know how great he was. TNA is not a representation of how good Nigel McGuinness was. If he gets to wrestle next week against Daniel Bryan, I am going to lose it. I hope that Grand Slam is awesome next week for everybody. I'm very excited about that. I also think that I do hope that there is some sort of title change, and I hope it's not the FTW. I do not care about Hook and Roderick Strong. I love Roddy Strong. He's one of my favorite wrestlers, but just don't care about that. There's a lot of tag team stuff. I hope the Young Bucks eventually... I don't know that they're going to lose to United Empire, but I thought that was cool that they played the United Empire thing on the screen last night during production when Konosuke and team got the win. I'm interested to see what happens because I think Konosuke deserves a main event spot. I hope that him and Kazuchika Okada wrestle for the AEW World title at some point. There's a lot of great things going on in AEW, and so Grand Slam's going to be off the hook next week. I'm excited to see what happens. I hope they get, obviously, all the matches listed here soon enough. We'll talk through that. And we'll have feedback next week talking about it. Hopefully Fred will be back. He's one of our common guests, and he is moving, and he's got his life moved over, and so he's going to join us back next week from his new pad. Tank, obviously, working. But if you're interested in joining Around the Mat Pod, man, I'd love to have new guests. Let me know. If you're watching the pod and you just like talking about wrestling, it's not super hard. You got a camera. I do all the production. Join us. We would love to hear your opinions, man. Wrestling fans, wrestling personalities alike. Or maybe you hate the show. You tell me that, too, that you hate it. I'm okay with that, too, man. I've heard a lot worse about my music, so join us. But before we go, I'm obviously a huge collector. As you can kind of see behind me, I should go this way. You can see the Hal Haney art, Ric Flair, the Dangerous Alliance. I've got the in-ring art Bushi and the Kazuchika Okada. I haven't hung my Great Muta one up yet. I've got my Tully Blanchard and Dusty Rhodes poster hung up that Phil Snyder got me. Shout out to Phil Snyder. I've got all my AEW figures behind me, my Super 7 figures. I've also been collecting wrestling figures since I was a child. 3 years old. My mom's been buying me figures forever since I was a kid. Obviously, as I got older, it stopped for a little while, but now as a gift, my family and friends and my parents all get me wrestlers kind of as like a gag gift. But I love it because they're figures that I probably wouldn't buy potentially, but I love them. My nephew got me one. He got me a Lince Dorado. My brother got me the Hulk Hogan Ichiban one, which obviously Hulk Hogan sucks now as a human being. But outside of that, great action figure, right? So yeah, but this week, one of the things that came out, and I if you don't follow Fig Heel, shout out to Fig Heel. The Knuckle Slammers, was it Knuckle Slammer? Knuckle Crunchers. My girlfriend and I forced her to go to Costco and use her membership to show me around. And then I also conned her into buying me the Knuckle Crunchers for my collection. I'm a big ring collector in these little ones. I had these as a kid, a very similar style thing that WWE had with Austin and Bret Hart. I had that little collectible ring. I also have a bootleg Lucha Libre ring. I have 2 of those. I'm very into like these little figurines that come with a ring. I like the collectible thing together. This one's pretty cool, man. It's got like a push mat. And, man, shout out to WWE for the figures. I can't wait. I got this, and I immediately was like, oh, man, I can't wait for that Great Muta figure. When does it come out? And then I almost bought the Bandai one. So I'm big figure collector. And all pretty cool things, man. But I thought that was interesting. I wanted to show you guys. If you have a Costco, check it out. I implore you to get the Knuckle Crunchers. With that being said, man, it's a short week. It's just me solo talking for 20 minutes about professional wrestling. Thank you guys for joining me here at Around the Mat. I've enjoyed it so long. I'm 31 episodes in, man. Like, again, Reggie, and pretty cool to make it this far and to be able to do episodes and talk through wrestling with my friends and be able to argue and clip it together and all those things and have a pro wrestling podcast, man. And so I'm PJ North, and until next time, when we go around the mat.